Guys, how's it going, man? Yeah, I'm just relaxing, you know, chilling. It's a fucking another hot day. Can't do much in the heat, you know, no point in being out in it. So whatever, right? This video is for entertainment and education purposes only. Any and everything I say could be wrong. Do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. And anyhow, yeah. Let's see, what's the lighting like if I go like, oh yeah, that's better. Yeah. You know, you gotta kind of, sometimes you gotta worry about lighting if you do videos. So, anyhow, let's get right to the point, I suppose. Oh yeah, well, I wanted to say, since I have some new subscribers, I've just got all these new subscribers flooding into my channel. Oh yeah, trying to think. Well, okay, so this YouTube channel I set up here, I started off doing videos storyboarding the event that happened to me 3 years ago, and then I did quite a bit of storyboarding, and people didn't like it, but which is understandable because it wasn't really necessarily for people. Even though I don't mind having it public, it doesn't really matter, and I can go into explanation of why it doesn't matter whether it's public or not. But I've already gone over these things. I go over and over and over the same things because for a lot of different reasons, like people don't listen and they don't want to listen. Anyway, all these reasons I have to continue, or I don't have to, so I'm not going to. I just want to say though to new subscribers, the storyboard playlist where I go over the event that happened to me 3 years ago is not really user friendly to the general audience. So I just don't want there to be any unreasonable expectation to. It's just whatever. It is what it is, I suppose, as they say. Yeah, but I mean, not that a person might, people might be able to get value out of it, even if it's entertainment. I don't know. I really don't know. And I knew that I didn't know when I went into it. But yeah, the storyboard. So the storyboard of the event that happened to me 3 years ago, there's so much to it, and there's so much to speculate on it that I can't even cover it all. Like I'll add new shit. Like, okay, for example, just the other day I was talking about how, I was filming busloads of illegals like weeks before the event happened. And then coincidentally, weeks after I'm filming busloads of illegals, all this crazy shit happens to me. That's not a coincidence in my opinion. That's what happens to you. That's what will happen to you if you start videoing busloads of illegals where you're showing actual proof of an invasion, real proof. Because you're going to be the only one putting up those videos. That's why, I always challenge people. Someone put a link in the comment section of any other channel that was posting videos on the regular of busloads, daily busloads of illegals. Nobody was posting any videos of busloads of illegals, but everybody was talking about it. Mark Dice and everybody else is talking about all busloads of illegals. But see, it's just like that Black Sabbath song. Politicians hide themselves away. They only started the war. Why should they go out to fight? They leave that to the poor. So Mark Dice and all these big guys, they're going to leave the hard work to people like you and me. They're not going to be posting videos of busloads of illegals because they already know that they're putting their life at risk in doing so. So all they do is talk about it all day. But if you or I see, like on the daily, for 5 weeks straight, every day, busloads of illegals coming into some area where you happen to be at, and you video them with your phone and you post those videos and show proof of what people like Mark Dice are talking about, you're going to get your fucking house burnt down, bro. Like 100%. They're going to make it very fucking clear to you that if you don't shut the fuck up, they're going to kill you, dude. And that's why you won't be able to post a link in the comment section of my channel showing me some channel that has been posting videos of busloads of illegals. Because nobody's doing it. Nobody was doing it. See, that's an element of the storyboard that I haven't even put in the storyboard. And this is what my point is there's so much to the storyboard. And if you look at the storyboard of me storyboarding this event that happened to me 3 years ago, it's like hours and hours and hours of me trying to narrate what happened to me. And the reason I called it a storyboard, and why I ended up calling this channel Storytime, AH, is because like if you understand what a storyboard is, like people will use a storyboard to investigators will use a storyboard to try to investigate crime, like a serial killer. They'll have a storyboard. So if you have a serial killer who's killing people across the United States of America, and the FBI will have a storyboard, and it'll have a pin on the map where there was the first kill, and then there'll be a red yarn that's tied to that pin that'll draw to the next murder that happened in some other area in the U.S. And next thing you know, you're gonna have red yarn and pins all over your map. If the serial killer is like lucrative, if they've been killing a lot of people, and you're trying to figure it out, piece the puzzle together, and you're gonna have all these clues are gonna be on your storyboard because you're trying to figure out the mystery, right? And so this event that happened to me 3 years ago, that's why I call it the storyboard. So, because that's what that is. And so I got the pre-event, which is everything that led up to the event. And that's one playlist section is the pre-event. Then the post-event is everything that happened in the event, you know, and then the post-event is all of the wake of damage that was left in the aftermath. And then I have a playlist for gap fillers. So that's where I went back and reviewing, you know, the evidence presented in the pre-event, event, and post-event, that there's all these details that I missed because it's such a vast, it's like a complex story. And I'm talking key details, like, for example, that I was videoing busloads of illegals weeks, just like 3-4 weeks on the regular before the event happened, and how that ties into all this as well, you know. And that my psycho ex, she was just a CIA stooge, you know, like useful. The FBI has a term, useful idiots. So the FBI will create a psyop for the purposes of generating useful idiots, drawing in useful idiots, and then they can use those useful idiots as pawns. Okay, CIA stooges is the same thing. And so, you know, this is all real shit. And to the naysayer who doesn't believe in conspiracy theories, you know, who believes that there are no conspiracies happening, it's all crazy tinfoil hat theorists. No, the CIA is being a corrupt, you know, thing is real. And that the CIA is quite possibly operating in your own neighborhood is a real possibility. This isn't just like, oh, concocting a, and that if you're doing something, even though you might just be a Joe Blow, if you come across something that the CIA is involved in is hiding and you expose it on YouTube, they're going to fucking come after you, dude. And they know how to manipulate your family and friends. They can play your family and friends like stooges and like useful idiots as part of their, you know, coordinated and triangulated attack on you to shut you up and shut you down. Because who are you? You're just some Joe Blow, but you accidentally came across something and you videoed it, and it just happened to be something that the CIA is heavily involved in, and they don't want that information getting out, and they will come after you, and they'll use your family and your friends and your loved ones to turn them against you, and on and on and on. So that's a detail of the storyboard that I haven't even talked about, and I have not. It's not part of the storyboard at all because I haven't even gotten around to that. And so that would go in the gap fillers playlist. So going back to the playlist, I have the pre-event, which there are gaps that I need to fill. Then there's the event, which there are gaps that I need to fill. Then there's the post-event, and there are gaps that I have to fill. And so that's why there's the playlist section called gap fillers, storyboard gap fillers, of which I still have not gotten to, that I was posting videos of busloads of illegals, and that is connected and tied to this event that I'm trying to storyboard. So then I have that. Then on top of that, how witchcraft and Satanism and the Illuminati shit is all tied to it, which it really, truly is. Like my psycho ex had Facebook friends that were Illuminati pages, Illuminati Facebook pages. The thing said, you know, join the Illuminati, and gave the email address and phone number, and all that page did was post Illuminati fucking, you know, Freemasonic Illuminati messaging, overt. And that Facebook page was called the Todd Mahdi, and I talked about this. Todd Mahdi, that's T-O-D in all capital letters, and then Mahdi, M-A-T-I. What does Todd Mahdi mean? That's the name of the Facebook page. It's not a person, it's a page, not a person. So like I could have a page, say my name is John Smith. I could have a Facebook page, and it would be John Smith, and everybody that knows me would be my friend. But I could also have another page that is a page about sports ball, and I would call it Sports Ball Faggot Page, and that would be a Facebook. So you see what I'm saying? Todd Mahdi was a Facebook page, not a person, and it was run by a person, but it was a page. So what does Todd Mahdi mean? I didn't know, but when I looked at the Todd Mahdi page, it's all about the Illuminati, and it's overt. It's not trying to hide it. It's like there to encourage people to join the Illuminati, and it's called Todd Mahdi. And I'm thinking, well, I never even. I mean, Todd is a name, but that's spelled with 2 D's, not 1. So Todd, that's not referencing a name. That's not referencing a person's name, Todd, T-O-D. And then Mahdi, what is Mahdi? What does M-A-T-I mean? So first I looked up, what does T-O-D mean? And the first thing that came up is T-O-D is an acronym for terms of death. And terms of death is in relation to life insurance policies, okay? T-O-D, terms of death, is in reference to life insurance policies. And Mati means evil eye. And so if you were to do a deep dive on what that might mean, why would somebody have this group called Terms of Death, Evil Eye that's connected to the Illuminati? Openly connected to the Illuminati. Self-proclaimed Illuminati. We are part of the Illuminati. You should join the Illuminati because you can become famous and rich joining the Illuminati. So contact us at this number. Here's the email address. Join the Illuminati. And the imagery is all Freemasonic, Illuminati eye, the Illuminati eye. It's all overt Illuminati messaging. And the name of it is Terms of Death, Evil Eye, Todd Mahdi. So if you go down that rabbit hole, especially seeing what I saw in relation to the event, what it is it's a coordinated, and many people are involved in putting out life insurance policies on people using the dark web and shit, and then having them killed so that they can collect the life insurance policy claims. Todd, Terms of Death, Evil Eye. And if you look into life insurance policy fraud, have you even looked into life insurance policy fraud? Do you know how deep that rabbit hole goes, life insurance policy fraud? If you are not aware of how deep that rabbit hole goes, dude, with the dark web and all this shit, a complete stranger who's never even met you, if they get enough of your information, they can put a life insurance policy out on you and you won't even know it for like $1 million, $2 million. And then, you know, all they have to do is figure out how to kill you with it looking like a natural death. And they will, without anyone knowing that they're even connected to you, they will collect that life insurance policy. And it's a massive scam that is a big thing now. Only recently, because of the internet and the dark web, it's a new thing. Because of the dark web, people are able to do this to you, someone who you've never even met. So all they have to do is figure out how to kill you and make it look like some kind of natural death or suicide or overdose, and then they'll collect the fraudulent life insurance policy claim that they put out on you. And this is what the Illuminati is wanting people to join, this coordinated effort, underground coordinated effort to put fraudulent life insurance policies out on people, and then send out the useful idiots and stooges to make the murder happen, and then they'll split up the money. And these are massive, massive. Do you not understand the amount of stupid people, especially stupid young people who think it's clever to fuck around with the dark web and all this stuff? How many masses of people they can get involved in that? And you don't think it's possible? Well, let's look at empirical evidence. Look at COVID. For every COVID death, $33,000 for every COVID death. Well, that would give incentive to an evil doctor or evil health industry to capitalize on that endeavor. Oh, this person died in a motorcycle accident, just listed a COVID death, and so we can collect that money. To the point where they'll start killing people in hospitals just so that they can say, oh, this was a COVID death, so I need $30,000 more, please, because somebody just died of COVID in my hospital, when really the hospital killed them for the $30,000. Hello? That's the Todd Mahdi, dude. Todd Mahdi. Terms of death, fucking evil eye cult. The health industry. Dude, masses of bitch shooters have been alleging that the health industry is a Todd Mahdi death cult. Only they're not using the term Todd Mahdi. Terms of death, evil eye. Is that what the health industry is? A terms of death, evil eye that kills people in order to get COVID money? Hello? You know? Anyways, the Todd Mahdi, I barely scratched the surface on that in my storyboard. The Todd Mahdi. Now, do you think I can just pull Todd Mahdi out of my ass? Dude, you can't make this shit up. And this is part of, yes, so I had to create a storyboard section, and I called it Shadows and something like that, Shadows and something, and it's all my attempt to cover the witchcraft, satanic, Todd Mahdi element of the whole event. So anyways, so it has all these sections, and it's a storyboard, so it's very confusing. There's lines here, lines there, there's a picture pasted here, whatever. It's a storyboard. So it's this big clusterfuck of shit that I just threw out. And then I have not worked on it in a long time, like many months, because it's overwhelming. It's like, it's too big for me to cover. It's too big. And it all starts with the event, you know? People say, well, I thought you said it started with the pre-event. See, that's what you don't understand. Nothing really became clear until the event happened. Once the event happened, then everything that led up to it started to make sense. All these weird things that I couldn't make sense of and just kind of brushed off like, oh, whatever. Once the event happened, then all the pre-event shit made sense. And all that pre-event shit corroborated what happened in the event. And then the post-event shit all corroborates. And once you start piecing these pieces of the puzzle together, it starts to form a picture. And there's many pieces of the puzzle, and this puzzle is way too big for me. This is something that this is supposedly why we have investigators and FBI and law enforcement and CIA. Like, these people are supposed to be investigating shit like this, but as you might be aware, none of these institutions do anything and are likely part of the Todd Mahdi. Like, the health industry is there's evidence that the health industry is a Todd Mahdi death cult. Okay, and so then when you start looking at, well, why does law enforcement never investigate anything? All they do is pull people over for, because they didn't make a full stop at a stop sign or something. But when it comes to real crime, the cops are never anywhere. They're never around when there's real crime. But if you don't have your seatbelt on, they're Johnny on the fucking spot, aren't they? And then you start looking at, well, why do we even have the FBI? Well, nobody even knows what they do because it's a secret society, and the CIA is the same. Like, aren't these organizations supposed to be investigating death cults and stuff? Well, and if they're not, well, then it would be safe to assume that logically it would appear that they are part of the Todd Mahdis. And then it goes even deeper than that. We're like, okay, like when all this shit happened to me, I have a friend, which I talked about this, that does international cybersecurity for the FBI. And I've known him for many years. And so I contacted him when the event happened, and I fucking told him everything because I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Am I going crazy? Because, see, my friend who does international cybersecurity for the FBI, he knows I'm not a madman. I mean, he knows I'm crazy, but I know I'm crazy. So fuck whatever. He knows I'm not a madman, and he knows I'm not a liar. So he knows I wouldn't make this story up. And he knows that I wouldn't, be hallucinating this out of delusion. Because that's a madman would do that. There's a difference between a person being kind of crazy and knowing they're kind of crazy and someone who's just totally like a madman. Okay, see, that's why I'm friends with him, because he knows I'm not a madman and he knows I'm not a liar. So when all this happened, I reached out to him and I told him everything, and he admitted he listened very patiently and attentively and was shocked and awed by my story. And after I finished, he told me that he was shocked and awed, and he admitted to me that if he were in that situation that I was in, he would have no idea what to do. And he admitted that to me. And he asked me for permission if he could give me some advice. And I said, please, yes. And he said the only advice that he could give me in all his experience that he has is do not talk to the cops. And he explained, because of the nature of his job, he interacts with high-level attorneys. And he's learned a lot about law because of his relations with high-end attorneys. And based off his understanding of the law, because of his relations with high-end attorneys, he knows that the one thing he knows that he would do is not talk to the cops. And that's all he could give me. Okay? And so this is something that if you put a magnifying glass to this idea. So this is essentially what he's saying, is if somebody put a death threat out on you, and then a week and a half later, your home burnt to the ground along with a neighboring 4-bedroom house and a neighboring 2,000 square foot storage building, if that happened, the best thing that you can do in that situation is not talk to the cops. Okay? And you might be like, well, yeah, duh. And okay, that's fair enough. But we are taught from the time we are infants that those are the very people we're supposed to go to when someone puts a death threat out on us and a week later our house burns down. That's why the police exist, is so that when those situations happen to us, we contact the police. But when in reality, if that happens to you, the best thing that you can do is to not go to the authorities whose job it is to investigate those crimes. And the reason why you don't go to them is because all they're going to do is try to pin those crimes on the victim, on you, the victim. And if they can get away with that criminal act of pinning those crimes on you, they will. And the reason that they'll do that is because they don't want to be burdened with having to investigate a crime that they can't solve, when they could just pin it on you and then wash their hands of it and show the community, look what a wonderful job they did solving that crime. That's all they care about. They don't care about policing crime. All they care about is the facade, keeping up the facade to the community and the public that they are in fact police officers that police crime. Not that they actually do police crime, but that they appear to everyone as that they do. So if that happens to you, the best thing you can do is not go to the police. So if you are a victim of a violent crime, the best thing you can do in that situation is not tell the cops that you're a victim of a violent crime. This is the way the world works in reality, as opposed to the way we are told and taught that the world works. You know, two completely different things. And you might be like, Angry Hobo, I already know all this. You know, oh, so you got a death threat? You've had this experience where you got a death threat, and then a week and a half later, your entire home burnt to complete ashes, including the fucking 4-bedroom house neighboring you also burnt to complete ashes, and a 2,000. You've had this happen to you. Well, no, not exactly that. Oh, okay. No. And so, I mean, you know, maybe you know this, maybe you don't. But it's one thing to know it and one thing to like experience it. Not that you haven't experienced it, maybe you have something like it. I'm not saying you haven't. I'm just saying from my experience, I understand all this before the event happened, but when the event happened, then I had to actually live that experience of having a violent crime, becoming the victim of a violent crime, a serious violent crime that potentially goes deep into a death cult rabbit hole. And the most important thing for me to do in that situation is to not report the crime, the violent crime, to the police officers, because the police officers are my enemy. So this is bizarre. And someone can try to argue that it's not bizarre that you should not go to the police if you are a victim of a violent crime. That's not bizarre. But see, whether that person realizes it or not, they're contributing to the problem. They're contributing to normalizing the bizarre phenomena that if you're a victim of a violent crime, the most important thing to do in that situation is not go to the cops. There's nothing like that that's about as bizarre can get. And to normalize that and try to act as though that's not bizarre, whether a person realizes it or not, if they're trying to normalize that it's not bizarre, they're contributing to normalizing things that are not normal. And I know that I'm not the only one who's experiencing these extremely, extremely bizarre things. And the problem is when you go to any media, any and all media, all they do is normalize all this bizarre shit. And they silence voices like mine and amplify voices like Richie from Boston and Alex Jones. And Richie from Boston and Alex Jones, they're there to normalize all this bizarre shit. They work for the system. They're propagandists whose job is to normalize all this insanity going on everywhere. Because Richie from Boston will say, oh, I already knew all this. Everybody, only sheeple are the ones that... See, that's normalizing it. Like, oh yeah, everybody knows that. But when really, Richie from Boston doesn't know jack shit because he's a propagandist who's paid to normalize all this shit with all his garbage, just spewing his garbage, just like Alex Jones. These guys will always, they always want to one-up you. If you have some totally bizarre story, the first thing Richie from Boston is going to do is unzip his pants and slap his dick on the table and start bragging about how he has a more bizarre story than you. And if he has to lie and make up a story to try to one-up someone like you or me, well, of course he's going to. That's all he does is lie and make up stories. You know? That's all he does is unzip his pants and swing his dick all the time about, look at me, I'm Richie from Boston. I'm seeing UFOs everywhere and I know everything, you know? And so if somebody says, well, hey, Richie, did you know this? And they'll be like, did I know that? Not only did I know that, but see, let me tell you, let me unzip my pants and lie. He's never going to admit if he doesn't know something. He's always going to say, well, not only did I know that, let me explain it to you further, and unzip his pants and slap his dick out on the every time. All these, Alex Jones, you go down the list, all these guys are the same. So see, they're minimizing and normalizing the bizarre. Because all they do is they'll say, oh, Angry Hobo claims he has that what happened to him is bizarre. Well, let me tell you what's bizarre. And then he'll go into how CERN is opening up the fucking massive, 20,000 mile fucking portal, and that there's been, trillions and trillions of invisible interdimensional beings that have been flooding, and the fucking seven-headed dragon. And he'll go into, now, and isn't that way more bizarre than Angry Hobo's little story about, and all that does is, so don't listen to Angry Hobo's story about the event. Because Richie from Boston has this massive, 20,000 mile portal, and with an unfathomable number of trillions and trillions and trillions of interdimensional beings, of fallen angels flooding. Anyhow, so the storyboard, right? So anyways, so I've got like 18 subscribers now, and I haven't gone over just like the bullet points of the storyboard in a long time. And so people that might be going back into into the early stages of this channel storyboard, I just wanted to give you a heads up on that, and just also just kind of point out why I did it, what it is, and how unpalatable it may be to the general audience, because it's just more me trying to piece together a puzzle. And people that I'm sure there are people that might get value out of it. It's just like some people like to put together puzzles. I personally don't. Like some people actually will go to the store and buy a fucking puzzle, and buy a lot of them, and like really complex puzzles, and they'll sit as a hobby and put a puzzle together. I'm not that kind of person. I'm a different type of person. So, and a type of person like that, they might actually get some value out of going through my storyboard, and going through the pre-event, the event, the post-event, the gap fillers, because it's a puzzle. And if I had like, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to do this, but all I'm saying is, like, if I had a group of people, like if I had like a think tank that took interest in my story, especially back when it was happening, and the think tank was like, okay, feed me all this info you got. I want to give me any and everything, no matter how minute, flood all this puzzle pieces to the think tank. And we're going to sit here and fucking start piecing this together while you're continuing to experience it, and you just keep flooding us the experience, and we will sit as the think tank and put all this together. If I had that, this whole thing would have been cracked wide open, and it would have been proven that there was a murder. I was being framed for a murder. It involved a cult of self-proclaimed witches who were involved in Satanism and witchcraft, and it would have gone up to like the highest levels of government in this area, including the sheriff and the police and government officials, and it would have involved large drug trafficking operations that would have probably been connected to the what do you call it, the cartel. Because all that's happening, I'm like right near Mexico. The cartel, there's all kinds of, so it was all connected to all this shit, and it was and the death threat was, and that was arson, and it was all, the whole piece, all these puzzle pieces would have been put together. The case would have been fucking cracked. Tons of people would have gone down, flushed down the fucking toilet. In an ideal situation where there'd be a think tank, or even just police actually doing their job. If police actually did their job, this whole thing would have been cracked wide open, and the majority of all these players, including my Psycho X, would have gone down, and my Psycho X would be fucking doing like, at least a decade in prison, and probably more, and possibly life or worse, Like, this is how crazy and deep this shit goes. And I know it's all very unbelievable, That's another reason why I did the storyboard, is because the whole thing was so unbelievable. That was one of the scary things about it, is I was like, who's going to believe me? Nobody's even going to believe me on any of this. And that's what scared me, because I realized I'm fucked. I'm alone. No one is going to believe me. And I'm telling you, if you have any kind of event like this happen to you, nobody's going to believe you. Even people that say they believe you, they don't even believe what they're telling you. They don't believe that they believe you. They're just telling you they believe you to console you because they think there's something wrong with you, and this and that. Like, all this goes way deep. Like, you'll get like a front row seat to what dark apathy or what dark empathy is. You'll be surrounded by dark empathy. Like, all these people and most people are going to want to have nothing to do with you. They're going to be like, oh no, if this is true, I don't want nothing to do with it. If it isn't true and this guy's losing it, I don't want nothing. Whatever the case is, I don't want nothing to do with it. So they'll just shut down immediately, because if it is true, they don't want anything to do with that either. Which goes back to what you need to know about the truth. There's what people want to hear, there's what people want to believe, there's everything else, then there's the truth. If people don't want the truth, like if the event that I storyboard was true, I'm telling you, people don't want that truth. They're going to be like, oh no, I don't want nothing to do with this. If it's true, I don't want nothing to do with it. If it isn't true, I don't want nothing to do with it. I don't want nothing to do with it, whatever it is, right? Even if it is true. And, and again, like my storyboard, it's not unique. That was another thing that shocked me when all this happened, is I know this crazy shit is happening all over the world, and it's a phenomenon where it's like this type of insanity, increased high volume insanity, is like the temperature is getting turned up fast. I already knew that this is, when it was happening to me, I was like, I can just imagine how many people are having these insane type of events happening to them, and nobody's listening to them, and they're not getting covered, and all we're hearing is Richie from Boston and all these same fuckers, Corbett Report, with all their stupid shit, their dick swinging bullshit, and their endless pontificating with their long foreheads, like, because it's all ego. They don't care what's happening. They just care about prestige and the money that comes from being a propagandist, and the money that comes from lying. They have no interest in the truth at all. So this true shit that's happening all over the place, not unique to me, nobody's going to hear about it, because all media are just walls and walls and walls and walls of impenetrable propaganda, including alt tech, new tech, big tech, mainstream media. Any and all media is the same. They're all just walls and walls and walls and walls of impenetrable propaganda, because they don't want stories like mine to get out, because Because that's all you would hear is stories like mine. Like all of these people would be coming out with similar stories to mine, which would just further corroborate the truth that there is something else going on other than what Richie from Boston is telling you and me. There is something way fucking crazier going on than what the Corvette report is reporting, and that what Richie from Boston is bullshitting. And what all these fuckers, there is something, and it's all intentionally being hidden. Yeah. And you know, some people say that I just sound like another conspiracy theorist. Well, I'm sure if I sat down and had a conversation with that person, I could accuse them of the same thing. You just sound like what you accuse me of, but you sound just the same. You know? What you're saying about the Jews sounds like you could be being accused of a conspiracy theorist also. Or what you're saying about, you name it, go down the list. You know, global warming, the earth is round, the earth is flat, you know, the Republicans, the Democrats, politics, any and everything could easily be accused of being a conspiracy theory. You know? Show me the fact and I'll show you the accusation that fact is just a conspiracy theory. And I don't care what the fact is, right down to that this is a lighter. Oh, no, it's not. Don't you know everything is a simulation? It's the Matrix, bro. You've been living in a dream world. This ain't even a lighter, man. You've been living in a dream world, bro. Right? Because it's the Matrix and the Morpheus and Neo. This isn't a lighter. That's just a conspiracy theory. You've been brainwashed. Everything is a simulation. You need to escape the Matrix, bro. See you, boys.